First time Spinosnack reaction. I'm excited for this one. I don't know how they accomplished this, but I simulated Megalodon in the modern ocean and chaos followed. Had to watch. We have to watch this, right? People still come into chat being like, "Are you the VTuber that crashed out about the Megalodon?" And I am, and I will every time. It's my favorite piece of getting rage baited, I guess. It's the most successful rage bait for me. There's also another part of the description. If a Megalodon returned today, this is what would happen. I think it's gonna starve really fast. That's what I think is gonna happen.
But the Meg's alive, Pixie.
No. Anyways.
The year's today, somewhere off the coast of Baja, California. A baby shark
Baja
is
Blast,
born
California?
into an ocean that has not seen its kind for 3.5 million years. This isn't good news for anyone, because this particular baby is already 2 meters long, weighs
Baby
about 150
Megalodon.
pounds, and belongs to the largest predatory shark that has
I didn't realize the babies were so big.
ever
Makes sense
lived.
though.
Within 20 years, it will need to consume the caloric equivalent of a killer whale just to
Yep.
survive 1 month, which raises an interesting question about the modern ocean's ability to carry this organism. But that is a concern for later though, because right now you have more immediate problems, like the fact that you're a baby Megalodon and everything wants to eat you.
Oh,
You were
we're the baby Megalodon. Oh, are we role-playing?
born on a Tuesday in a shallow bay off the coast of Baja, California.
Oh,
And the
okay.
first thing you notice is that your mother is nowhere to be found. She hates
Mama?
you. You're an orphan now, which is completely normal because just like
Yeah.
my dad, sharks don't do parenting, and honestly, that's probably for the best given what you're about to become. You're already 2 meters long,
Yeah.
which is roughly the size of a full-grown human, and you weigh about 150 pounds. So you didn't exactly
Sick.
have a gentle entry into the world. The water here is warm, hovering around 24 degrees Celsius. And while that might sound impressive, it's actually warmer than it should be for this latitude. So thanks, climate change. This is the one and only time that you're going to be benefiting from human activity. Back when your species was thriving about 3.5 million years ago, nurseries were scattered around places like Panama,
Well, that's
the
pretty
Canary
hard.
Islands, and what's now Maryland. All of them shallow bays with warm water and tons of food. And this bay off Baja fits that description pretty well, except for one critical difference, which is that the Miocene Ocean was consistently warm across huge areas, whereas now you're
but
in
it
a
drops
thin
off.
strip of acceptable water surrounded by temperatures that would slow you down to the point where you would mostly be useless. But you don't know that yet because you're about 6 minutes old and your main concern is the fact that you're extremely hungry, which is a problem that you're gonna have for the rest of your life. So you might as well get used to it now. Your first meal is a
God.
grouper that weighs about 30 pounds and you eat it in
Ooh.
2 bites, which feels efficient until you realize that you're still hungry because your metabolism is designed for an ocean that no longer exists.
Yep.
So you spend the next few hours cruising the shallows looking for anything big enough to be worth the effort. Eventually you find a 4-foot shark. It's some kind of reef shark that was minding its own business until
Munch,
you
munch,
showed
munch.
up, and you eat it whole because you can, and because in evolutionary terms, eating a shark on your first day is what professionals call a power move. The other sharks in the area get the
Oh,
message pretty
Jeff!
quickly and start
Not
avoiding
Jeff.
you, which is smart on their part, but also means you're running out of easy targets faster
Yep.
than you would like. On day 3, you spot something new. There's a pod of black and white shapes moving through deeper water just outside the bay. And your
Orca?
genetics tell you that these are probably food because they're big and they're mammals. But your genetics are about 3 million years out of date, so they don't tell you that these particular mammals are orcas. And orcas very much did not exist the last time a megalodon was
And they're a
swimming
bit
around.
smart.
What your genetics also don't mention is that orcas hunt young sharks specifically for the liver, which they consider in
Oh.
their culture a delicacy. And at your current size, you are
Wow, I didn't know orcas had a delicacy. Okay. I knew orcas were crazy like that, but I don't know. Wow. I didn't know they had cultural food in orca culture.
not a predator to them. You're on the menu.
That's
One of
crazy.
them
That's
peels off
awesome.
from the pod and starts heading your way. This is the moment where you learn a valuable lesson about the modern ocean, which is that intelligence
You're
beats
too
size when you're
stupid.
alone and bite-sized. The orca is about 7 meters long, which means it's bigger than you, and it's moving with the kind of confidence that suggests it's done this countless times before. So you do the only logical thing and retreat into the murky shallows where the bottom is too close for comfort and the water is too cloudy for them to hunt effectively. carefully. The orca stops at the edge of the shallows, makes a few clicks that you can feel in your entire body, and then leaves. Here's the thing about being a juvenile megalodon in the modern ocean. Back in the Miocene, your biggest threat was other megalodons, specifically adults who wouldn't hesitate to eat you if they were hungry enough, which is just standard shark behavior.
What is that
and at least had the decency to be straightforward. Now your biggest threat is a highly intelligent social mammal that hunts in coordinated packs, has cultural knowledge passed down through generations, has apparently decided that shark liver is worth the effort. This is a new threat. You spend the next 5 years in and around that bay, growing about a meter per year, which sounds fast until you realize you need to get to 15 meters before you are really safe from anything. And 5 meters per year means you've got a decade of being nervous every single time you leave the shallows. And your diet expands as you grow.
Bold to assume that there would be enough for a shark to even live, a megalodon baby to live for 5 years.
Sea lions when you can catch them, small dolphins if they're stupid enough to wander close, and large tuna that you actually have to chase, which is annoying because your body is designed for short ambush bursts, not extended pursuits. The problem you keep running into is that the modern ocean has about 70% less large prey than the Miocene ocean did, which is a nice way of saying the buffet your DNA expects simply isn't there. That restaurant has been closed for a long time. If you'd been born 3 million years ago, this bay would have been surrounded by small baleen whales, the 5 to 10 meter variety that were slow, plentiful, and full of enough blubber to keep you full for weeks. Now you've got sea lions, which are fine, but they're not whales.
They're not as big,
dolphin, which again is fine, but not whales. And a lot of fish that you're frankly too big to be bothering with, but you eat them anyway because the alternative is starving. You are burning through more energy than your ancestors did just trying to find enough food to maintain your growth rate. And you're starting to understand why your species went extinct, which is a weird thing to understand when you're a 5-year-old shark, but here we are. At 5 meters long, you're too big for the bay now. You keep scraping your belly on the sand, and the prey that is still there has learned to avoid you. And there's a pod of orcas that's been hanging around the entrance for the past week like they're waiting for you to make a mistake. So
orcas are evil.
Which is that you're going to leave and head into the open ocean. Because staying here means slowly starving, and leaving means possibly getting killed by orcas. But at least the second option has better odds. So you wait until night, when the orcas are less active, and you slip out of the bay into water that's deeper and colder than anything you've experienced. The first thing you notice is that the ocean is emptier than it should be. Your genetics are telling you that there should be whales everywhere, but there aren't. And that is going to be quite a big problem. 2 years go by, and the open ocean teaches you things your genetics prepare you for, which is basically everything, because evolution doesn't account for the entire planet cooling down and most of your food going extinct.
Oh, not the red tide. You're 10 meters long
now, which is big enough that most things leave you alone, and the ones that don't are either confused or want to end their own lives. But there's still this nagging problem where you need to eat roughly 98,000 calories a day. The ocean keeps failing to provide them. So when you spot a gray whale mother and her calf migrating north along the coast, you don't hesitate. Because this is what you were built for, and also because you haven't eaten anything substantial in 3 weeks. The calf is 8 meters long, which sounds big until you remember that you're 10 meters and equipped with the jaws that can bite through a car. The mother is 15 meters, which sounds like a problem, so you remember that you're not trying to fight the mother. You're trying to eat her baby before she notices. How sweet of you. So you come up from below, which is standard ambush
just doing it real quick,
and
real
you
nice.
Get one clean bite into the calf's flank, tearing out roughly 200 pounds of meat and blubber in a single go. And the blood in the water is immediate. The calf tries to swim, which is pretty optimistic of it considering it just lost a chunk of its body the size of a refrigerator, and the mother starts ramming you, which is understandable, but also ineffective because you've already
normal reaction,
and you're just waiting now. It takes about 40 minutes for the calf to die from blood loss. And during that time, the mother stays with it, making sounds that you can feel in your teeth. And this is the part where you'd feel something if you were capable of feeling things. But you were a shark, so instead you just wait for her to leave, and then you feed for the next 6 hours. One whale calf equals roughly 60 days of calories, which means you can coast for 2 months on this single kill. And that's the most
Wow.
efficient math you've encountered since leaving the bay. It is a
Does that
strong
work?
strategy. 3 months later, you run into your first great white shark.
Oh,
And
okay,
their
I guess that does
interaction
work.
lasts about 8 seconds, which is how long it takes for the great white to see you, process that you're twice its length, and then leave the area completely. This is interesting for a couple reasons. The first being that
Alright,
great
see you
white
later.
sharks basically didn't exist when your species was around. The second being that they might have evolved specifically to fill the gap that you left when you went extinct, which means in a weird way, this great white is only here because your species died out, and now you're back, so that's kind of awkward. The great white was hunting seals near an island, and now you're hunting seals near an island, and the great white is somewhere else entirely, probably having an identity crisis. You ate 6 seals in 2 days, which
The great white shark needs emotional support at this point.
barely moves the needle on your calorie requirements, but at least it's something. And you start to notice a pattern, which is that wherever you go, other predators leave. Orcas change their routes, sharks abandon hunting groups. You're reshaping the behavior of every large animal in your range just by existing, which would be impressive if it also wasn't evidence that the ecosystem has no idea what to do with you. You do not belong in this lost world. So,
And it's also like, even though like the orcas would totally kill a megalodon, right? Just because they're so much smarter. It's the problem of it's chasing off the big predators that it needs to eat to meet its like calorie intake, its necessary calorie intake. It can't survive on just the lower parts of the food pyramid. It needs to eat the top predators or like it needs to eat other apex just critters in the ocean. That's what it needs to be eating. But all the apex predators and everything else are leaving. So it just can't, it's not survivable. And it cannot eat plankton. Yeah, plankton is not good enough.
you start moving north, following the whale migration routes, because whales migrate and you need to eat whales. So the math is simple. But the whales are heading into the Bering Sea, which is cold. Too cold. And your
Ooh,
body starts
that's
slowing
cold.
down around 12 degrees Celsius.
Ooh.
So you stop at around 40 degrees north latitude and just wait for them to come back south. This is a problem your ancestors never had, because back in the Miocene, the ocean was warm everywhere, and whales didn't have polar refugees where they could hide from you. Now they do. They feed all summer in water that you can't tolerate, and then migrate back through your range for maybe 6 weeks out of the year, and that's your window.
it?
The rest of the year,
Wow.
you're hunting whatever you can find, which today happens to be a pod of sperm whales. And this goes badly for everyone involved. You target one of the calves because of
Why
course you
sperm
do,
whale?
and the females immediately form a circle around it with their tails facing out, which is a defensive formation that apparently whales invented sometime in the last 3 million years. You try to get
What?
through because you're hungry, and that calf is your food. And one of the females hits you with her tail.
I've never heard of
It's not enough
this.
to seriously hurt you, but it's enough to make you reconsider whether this meal is worth getting hit by multiple whales who clearly know what they're doing. So you leave. This will be an important decision. Here's what's becoming clear. You're hunting 3 to 4 times more often than your ancestors did. You're traveling twice as far to find prey.
It's not
and you're burning
sustainable.
through energy like you're trying to heat a house with the windows open. Back in the Miocene, a shark your size could eat 1 medium whale every 2 months and be fine, because the ocean was warm and whales were everywhere, and you didn't have to chase them into polar water to find them. Now you're eating 1 whale every 2 months, plus seals, plus large fish, plus whatever else you can catch, and you're still operating at an energy deficit most weeks. The ocean your DNA expects is gone. What's here instead is colder, emptier, and has whales that are either too big to kill safely or smart enough to defend themselves in ways that make you rethink your life choices. You're surviving, barely, in an environment that has moved on without you. Your species went extinct because of this exact problem, and you are starting to see why. But you don't get
And good luck. Wait until humans figure out where you are. It's all over at that point. Once humans get a handle on a Megalodon, it's over. It's so over. Humans would totally hunt Megalodon for sport.
go extinct.
Like
At least
trophy
not
hunting.
yet. And 15 years later, you're 17 meters long and weigh somewhere around 50 tons, which makes you the largest predatory shark in the ocean by a distance so large that it's almost unfair to other sharks. Except fairness isn't really part of the way ocean does its business. At this size, nothing can kill you except maybe a coordinated pod of extremely motivated orcas. And even then, they would have to catch you in the right mood, which is to say distracted or injured. Because on a good day, you could bite one of them in half and the others would get the message pretty quickly. So you've been patrolling the same route for the past decade, which runs from Baja up to Northern California and back down, and then sometimes across to Hawaii depending on when the humpback whales are breeding. And this route is now essentially yours because every other large predator has learned to be somewhere else when you show up. The great white sharks that used to hunt seals off the coast have moved their operations further north into colder water where you won't follow them. And the orcas that used to own these hunting grounds now avoid you entirely after you killed 2 of them in separate incidents over the years. They learned. That's the thing about intelligent prey. They remember.
They're smart.
The whale populations are changing too. Specifically,
they're smart because they know how to survive.
the mothers have started taking different migration routes to avoid areas where you've been spotted, which is a reasonable response to a 50-ton shark that's been eating their kids for 15 years. But it's also making your job harder because now you have to hunt over an even wider area to find them. You've now eaten 47 gray whale calves since you reached adulthood, which sounds excessive until you remember that you need to eat roughly 1 large animal per month to maintain your weight, and 47 calves over 15 years is actually below that average, which means you've been supplementing with a lot of smaller prey that barely registers
means you're getting
on your calorie
skinny.
needs. Here's where it gets interesting from an ecosystem perspective, though. The northern Pacific gray whale population is about 20,000 individuals, and you've personally killed 47 of their calves, which is 0.23% of the population. And while that doesn't sound like much, consider that you're one shark and you're measurably impacting a species' breeding success. Back when your kind was thriving, there were probably dozens of megalodons in the Pacific alone, and there were way more whales to compensate. So the system balanced out. Now there's one of you and fewer whales, and you're taking a slice that the population can technically afford to lose, but just barely. And humans have noticed, which was inevitable because humans notice everything and then make it everyone else's problem. Satellite tags on whales
it's over.
And when whale carcasses wash up on beaches, they have these massive bites taken out of them that don't match any known predator. And shipping vessels have reported seeing something extremely large near the surface that's definitely not a whale because it's got a dorsal fin and it's moving wrong. Scientists are confused, which is understandable. Governments are concerned, which is less understandable because governments are usually concerned about the wrong things. And someone somewhere is probably already suggested killing you for the public safety, which is rich considering humans spent the last century hunting whales down to 10% of their original numbers, and now they're worried about one big shark. The question everyone's asking is, what do you do with a 50-ton shark that eats endangered species? Do you protect it because it's the last of its kind? Do you kill it because it's eating things we've decided are important? Or do you try to track it and study it and hope it doesn't eat anyone's boat? Well, you don't care about any of this because you're a shark and you have no concept of human laws or conservation ethics. You just know that you're hungry and there's food in the ocean, and sometimes that food has a satellite tag on it. Your hunting strategy has evolved, which is a nice way of saying you've gotten more desperate and opportunistic as you've aged. You scavenge now, which you didn't do much as a younger shark, and you've learned that fishing vessels dump a lot of dead fish overboard, so you follow them sometimes.
I was learning.
The bycatch.
It's getting closer to humans, which this is gonna be the end of it. Once an animal starts having like too close of contact or like reliability on humans like this, it's over. It's over.
Which is not dignified, but hey, it's free calories. You've also figured out that certain oceanic islands have whale populations that congregate nearby at specific times of year, so you time your migrations around that, and you've gotten very good at ambushing whales near the surface where they're breathing because that's when they're the most vulnerable. Last month you even killed a blue whale calf, which was the biggest prey item you've ever successfully taken, and blue whale calves are born at 7 meters long and weigh about 2 to 3 tons. So this is significant. The mother was 25 meters and there was nothing you could do about her. She's too big, too fast, and too aware. And if you tried to fight an adult blue whale, you would probably win eventually, but you'd also probably get seriously injured in the process. And an injured megalodon is a dead megalodon because you can't hunt effectively with broken bones. So you waited until the calf was separated
Makes
during a
sense.
deep dive, you came up from below, and you got one bite that was enough. The mother came back and found her calf dying and stayed with it
Aw.
until the end. And then she left, and then you fed for 8 hours straight. Here is the thing
Dang.
about blue whales, though. They didn't get this big until after your species went extinct, probably because
really?
you weren't around to eat them anymore.
Okay,
which
makes
means
sense.
the whales got bigger specifically because you were gone. And now you're back, and the whales are too big for you to hunt safely except for the calves. There's almost something funny about that if you ignore how depressing it
Stupid
is.
minion.
You're now 25
Yeah.
years old, and you've probably
Oh my
got another
God.
20 or 30 years left, and you've killed hundreds of large animals in that time, and you've survived in an ocean that wasn't designed for you
Just
and has
barely.
no real way to support you long term except through sheer stubbornness on your part. Can one megalodon actually survive in the modern ocean? Yes, apparently. Can you thrive? Not really. The ocean's too cold, the prey's too scarce, and you burn more energy finding food than your ancestors ever had to. And you can't reproduce because you're alone. And even if you could, there's not enough food to support a population of sharks your size. So you keep swimming, you keep hunting, and keep existing in a lost world that moved on without you 3 million years ago. You're the last megalodon again, just like your species was at the end, except this time there is no population to sustain you. You're just one shark doing laps between whale migration routes while slowly running out of options. The modern ocean can support one megalodon, barely, but only if that megalodon is willing to work 3 times as hard as its ancestors did and accept that it's never going to be anything more than a ghost in an ecosystem that has already forgotten it. That's it. That's the answer. Can a megalodon survive in our current ocean? Yes, but there is a huge catch. If you enjoyed watching,
I don't think it would be successful. I think he was being really generous with how old it would get to be. I don't think, in reality, I don't think if there was a megalodon baby, I really don't think it would reach, like, at, how old did he say? Like, where do you leave it? Like 15? Or like technically 25? I don't think it would live very long. I think it has to use way too much energy, and literally, like you said, there's just not enough real estate for a megalodon to like live comfortably. There's just not enough. It's just not happening. And then that's not even with humans in the equation. Humans obviously would be in the equation, so it would get clapped in like the first year, if we're being so real. I think it'd be clapped in the first 5 years. I think you could give benefit of the doubt that people would just think it's a really big great white shark for the first couple years, but once it starts getting bigger, then it would be over. It would be so over. Hi! Thank you so much for watching! If you liked it, please don't forget to give a like to the video and subscribe to my channel! I also stream live on Twitch, so follow me on Twitch and turn on notifications to know when I go live. I hope to see you there! Bye!